quite remarkable. But you know, not entirely surprising, because humans are not perfect, right? Of course humans are not perfect. And no decision-making system can be perfect. But I think there is a sort of an absolute faith in the people amongst certain liberal democracies that is misplaced. I've said this before. Like democracy, the way democracy is conceived right now in the West is that the people are never wrong. Like the systems of decision making are set up that the people are never wrong. You can never override the will of the people, quote unquote the will of the people. But really the will of the people as represented in referendums. Which is a different thing from the actual will of the people, because there are a lot of ways that referendums can misrepresent people. For example, the cost of voting. The Americans are notorious for falling into this trap. They make the cost of voting so high that the poor people can't vote, right? Like voting day is not a holiday. You have to take a whole day off just to vote, because the voting booths are deliberately designed to be overcrowded, especially in poor areas. So you're asking poor people to take a day off from work to not get paid in order to participate in democracy, and the result is quite simple. The result is that a lot of people just can't afford to vote. They can't afford to take a day off to vote, and so they don't vote. And so then the vote doesn't actually represent the will of the people, it represents the will of the rich people. Right? So that's how you skew a democracy. Is by making it expensive to vote. Not complicated at all. But in a lot of Western countries, there's such a blind and unquestioning faith in the idea of democracy that people don't think about the ways in which democracy can be corrupted. They don't really talk about it very much. It's almost a taboo to criticize democracy, even when it is clearly failing or broken. So given, you know, that's just one example, but there are many ways that a ostensibly democratic method of decision making can be corrupted or skewed or broken. But you're not really allowed to question those things. Or if you do question it, like, people tend not to pay too much attention. Because nobody wants to face the possibility that... Oh crap, there's water. That democracy doesn't work. Right? Everyone's invested so much in democracy that if it doesn't work, it's too much trouble to fix. Because like everything revolves around the idea of democracy in democratic societies. Well, nobody wants to tackle that question because it's too hard. But if you don't fix it, it just stays broken, right? So it just stays broken. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what are the ways democracies can break? So I already said one of them is unequal access to decision-making activities, right? And it's not just the voting, it's also like debates. Because part of decision-making is debating to discuss the options. The debates is for you to discuss the various options, and then the vote is for you to decide which option you like the best. Without discussion, you're just like, basically you're flipping a coin. If you don't know what you're choosing, like what is choosing if you don't know what you're choosing? Like somebody gives you 2 envelopes, do you choose envelope A or envelope B? And you're like, well, what's in the envelopes? And they're like, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you what's in the envelopes, choose one or the other. It's not a real choice, right? It's not a real choice, you don't know what you're choosing. And the debates, the purpose of the debate is for you to find out what you're choosing. And so if the debates are not done well, then people just don't know what they're choosing. And so the choice doesn't make any sense. Like there's no meaning. It's not a meaningful choice if you don't know what you're choosing. So the mechanisms of decision-making, unequal access to the mechanisms of decision-making is a big problem. Misinformation is a big problem. Right? Like, people lie, we know that. If somebody lies in an election, and people make decisions because they believe the lie, then it's a bad decision, right? Because they're making a decision based on false information. They think they're making the best decision, but because the information is false, they're not making the best decision. And you really have to punish liars severely. But how do you do that? Because a lot of these liberal democracies also believe in free speech. And the thing with free speech is who decides who is lying? If you ban somebody for lying, are you restricting speech for political purposes, or are you actually preventing abuse of the system, right? Who decides? Who decides? And unfortunately, we don't have a good answer to that question, and therefore in a lot of liberal democracies, nobody decides. You decide. You at home, you decide. And because people are stupid, a lot of people are, let me be kind about this, not stupid as such, but we're not experts in everything. Nobody is an expert in everything. And when you ask non-experts to decide, quote unquote, decide on expert questions, you're gonna get bad outcomes. You're gonna get bad decisions. Wrong decisions. Oh, not here. Crap. I need to be back here. You decide. Things like COVID. Should you get the vaccine? You decide. What do you mean you decide? I'm not a doctor. What does the doctor say? All the doctors say get the vaccine, dumbass. Just get the vaccine as soon as you can. What are you doing? But the media says you decide. You at home, you decide if you want to get the vaccine. Come on, man. Are you serious? They decide? You decide? No, ask a doctor, dumbass. So again, this, it's not, is it democracy, or is it some sort of corruption of democracy? To assume that the average Joe can decide complicated expert questions. Imagine if they made it a poll. If they like polled, like if they like make it a vote. Should people get vaccinated? Vote now. Holy crap. Nobody would get vaccinated. It would be just like Brexit. A collective bad decision. Not everything should be voted on, and in fact not everything is voted on. But maybe even now too many things are voted on that shouldn't be. I don't know, man. One, two... The assumption is that the average voter is better than the average dictator. I'm just not sure that assumption is true. I don't know, maybe it is. But I'm not confident. What's the saying? You can fool some of the people all of the time, or all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. The thing is, you don't have to fool all the people all the time. You only need to vote. You need to fool most of the people, which is some. You only need to fool some of the people every time there's a vote. And that's enough to completely wreck society. I mean, if what you think saves democracy is that you can't fool all the people all the time, that's no guarantee of anything. All you need to do is fool 51% of the people. Not even the people. 51% of voters. Not everybody vote. Fool 51% of voters once every 4 or 5 years, and you can rule the world. Holy crap. Yeah, no, this is blinking red lights. Somebody fix this problem, please. This is not working the way you think it is. Oh well. I personally don't have any better answers, so all I'm doing is complaining. I don't actually have an answer. Sorry. One, two, three. We have a bridge here, but the bridge is kind of awkward. It's in an awkward location, in an awkward direction. So we want this part to be free at least. Do I build a proper bridge, or do I just put a proper arch over this? Maybe I should. Seems a little silly to put an arch over this thing, but let's do that. Stone arch? Maybe I take a hint from the fort and have like a big triangle. Let's do that. would be So if we continued this shape,